Morning everybody, working again on the quad bike today. Try and make today's video a little bit shorter than the last couple. So as was talking about in the end of that last video, Dad cut the end off the muffler and I took it to work, chucked it in the sonic cleaner and let it blast out for about 8 hours, and I soaked it overnight in heavy degreaser as well, and then pressure washed it. So we put it up against the exhaust on the engine and just sort of held it there with the end just held on, and it seemed to be a little bit better. So we're going to weld it back up and put it back on there and run it and see what it does. And then also today I'm going to replace the rear drive shafts in those control arm bushes, but I'll show you the muffler and what Dad has done to it. So here's the end of it. He cut it off with the angle grinder, and then yeah, you probably can't really see much, but took it to work and cleaned it all out, stripped all the paint off in the cleaner. So Dad's going to weld this end cap back on, and then we'll put the muffler back on the bike and start it up. So hopefully that all goes well, and then we'll see how it runs, and then I'll make a start on the rear end doing the work there. Alright, so Dad's just finished welding this end back on. He's just going to clean up the welds with the grinder. And then once we've done that, we'll put it back onto the bike. And I've just been putting some stuff back on while he's been doing that. Just bolted down this front covers, put that back on, put these big breather pipes on, and just been routing a few more wires and stuff. So once he's done, we'll put that on, run it, see what it's like, and then if it's all good, start ripping this back end apart. Alright, so as you would have just seen, we got the muffler back on there and started it up. Most, like you would have seen, it looked very smoky. A lot of that was just steam from all the water and chemical in there from when I cleaned it, because that was only yesterday. And there's a bit of smoke. It's still going to burn out all the carbon and stuff that's in there, so it'll be smoky for a while, I reckon. But it seems to be breathing a bit better, so obviously it did help washing it out. And yeah, hopefully when we're riding around getting hot, it'll burn out the rest of that stuff, and then should clear up a bit. So we'll just let that burn out over time. All right, so next I'm going to start doing these rear end. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to jack up one side, rip the wheel off, and start taking the top control arm off, and then I'll have to knock the hub and the bearing over so we can get this drive shaft out. So we'll make a start on that now. All right, what I've done so far, just pulled the wheel off, pulled the hub, I guess you'd call it. Now that was just held on with a 27mm nut, a Castle nut. Just took the split pin out and wheel that off. So now the drive shaft is loose, and that will fall off when we do it. Hopefully these bearings in here are okay. They seem alright. So now what we need to do to actually get that apart is we need to take this bolt off this top control arm, which we've got to replace the bushers on anyway, and we'll replace them up there as well. And then when we take that out, that should fold over and we can get that out. So we'll undo this bolt up here and then try and fold that over. Alright, so I sort of jumped ahead of myself there with the camera. I got the drive shaft out, got the new one in my hand. So that just slips in, and the way it's held in there is there's a ring that goes around this splined end, and you literally yank it out and then click the new one in, and that's how easy it is. I've also pulled out the old bushers out of the top half of this hub here, and there's a can't think of the name of the word. Just like a metal tube spacer that runs in there where the bolt runs through. Also up here, pulled the bushers out up there, and realised what they say warm. There's a grease nipple on there, but obviously no one's been greasing it in a long time. We didn't even realise. So I pulled the bushers out of there. So what I'm going to do now is chuck the new bushers in. I've got some here. For some reason I've been given two different sorts, but they're the exact same like size and application. One here is for some reason a heavy duty version, this one not. Alright, so as I was saying about the bushers on here and up there, yeah, I didn't think that I thought they were the same bush, but actually they're slightly different. So one of them only fitted in the bottom one and the other one's fitted up there. Slightly different size, which is fine. So I'll get the bushers in, then I will put the pin through, or the tube, this thing here. I'll get the grease gun, put a heap of grease in there before I put the arm back on, and then yeah, we'll slip that drive shaft in as well. But I'll also put some anti-seize in that splined area there, just to help it a little bit, bit of lube in there, and if I ever need to pull them back out, make it a bit easier. So I'll put the bushers in, give them a grease, and then I'll come back to you when I'm ready to put the drive shaft back in. Alright, so we're just jamming a bit of grease into these shafts. Because they haven't been greased in so long, we're going to make sure there's plenty in there and give them a good rotate. But we'll be keeping on top of this from now on, I think. Alright, I've just got some anti-seize here. Just this stuff here. So I'll put a bit in the splined area where that drive shaft goes. That'll just help, bit of lube, as well as just make it a bit easier to remove if we ever have to. So it's not all rusty. And then we're right to put the drive shaft in. So with these drive shaft, there's no left or right. They're the same on each side. So put it in. Might have to give it a tap with the hammer. We'll see how we go. There we go. That's in there as it should be. So now we can angle that through there like so. And then that just hooks in through the shaft there, and then we can button her up. Also got to put our control arm back on. So that's just as simple as just putting that back over the bushes and bolting it on. When it's all done up, I'll put some more grease through it just to make sure there's plenty in there. I don't know how the hell you're meant to grease them when they're all done up. It makes it a little bit difficult, but we'll find a way. Alright, managed to get all them greased, so they should be all pretty well lubed up. So there, it's all back together, plenty of grease on the top and bottom of all them control arms. So now we can install the hub back on and run the nut back up. I don't know if the tension for what that nut should be, but we'll just do it up pretty tight, I think, just to make sure she doesn't fall off. You put a split thread through it, so maybe we'll just do it up sort of firm, not super tight, because we may cause a little bit of trouble for ourselves if those bearings are up too tight. So I'll grab the hub and we'll slip that on. Just going to do the same thing with this end of the drive shaft and just put a bit of anti-seize in the hub. And that'll just help with removal and installation as well. Alright, hub's on. Make sure that drive shaft's all the way through, which she is. And then we can put, there's a washer and the nut can go on. So as I was saying, it's just a castle nut, so we'll have to line up the holes to put a split pin. And I think I'd said it's a 27mm nut as well. Alright, that's lined up with a hole there, so I think that should be pretty good. So I'll get a new split pin and run it through the shaft, and then I'll slap the wheel back on. Alrighty, so this side's all back together now. New shaft in there. There's the other side, still got the old one. And here's the old shaft. Looking a bit sorry for herself, look at all the crap in there. split on here, so that can go in the scrap. So what I'll do now is I'll quickly smash this other side together and replace that shaft and do the bushes as well on the control arm. And then I'll put all the start putting the plastics back on. I'll sort of run the breather hose. I'm just having trouble working out how the hell it went. It just is eluding me. So yeah, I'll do that. Then I'll start putting the plastics all back on. Start clipping everything back together. We'll do that, and then we should be able to take it for a ride and start giving it a good run in. It's pretty much had a good run in anyway. We've been revving it pretty hard every time we've started it up, and we were blowing all that carbon and steam and stuff out of the exhaust. Had it going pretty hard there too, but yeah, we'll make sure we take it for a good drive. That's another thing. Also got to bleed the rear brake caliper because we had the hose disconnected. So when I have the wheel off and I'm reassembling it all, I'll have to run some brake fluid through it, but we'll do that when we put it all back together. Okay, got the drive shaft all replaced and the bushes up here. Really needed to do the bottom control arm bushes. Yeah, I didn't realise they were quite as worn as what they were, but I can do them another time. It's pretty easy to pull it apart. So next time, maybe when I do the break-in service, because I'll do all the oils and everything, I might change them then. But what we're up to now is, you see this side has a brake disc and caliper. And because we had that line off when we split the engine off from the chassis, all the fluid ran out. So we have to bleed the caliper. So it shouldn't be too bad. It's going to be slow going though, because the reservoir is like really small. It only takes like, I don't know, 10 mil maybe. We're going to have to like do one push of the brake pedal to push some brake fluid through. Then I'll have to lock it off, and then we'll have to keep topping it up every time basically, till we get all the air out. So I've got my missus here with me. What I'm going to do is Neeks is just going to push the pedal and top the fluid up, and I'm just going to work the brake bleeder down here and just lock it off every time she puts her hand on the pedal, and then I'll let it off when she's pushing the fluid through. Alright, so what I'm going to get Neeks to do is I'm going to get her to put her hand on the pedal, and what that'll do is it'll push fluid down the line. Not yet. It'll push fluid down the line to the caliper, and then I'll undo the bleed screw, and then the hand pressure will push out the air and fluid, and then we'll just keep repeating the process. Every time she's pushed out the fluid and the air, I'll lock it back off, and she'll lift her hand off the pedal, and that'll allow fluid to go back down. So, and then she'll have to top it up. So we'll do that. It's probably going to take it'll take a while to get all the air out, but we'll see how we go. Let it up. Push down. 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 Let it up. Alright, so as you can see, every time next is pushing down on the pedal, the fluid's running out, and I'm locking it off, put pressure on it again, and then the air should push through as we're doing it. So I'll just keep doing it until all the air's out. Right, so I just finished bleeding the brakes. Got all the air out of the line, so that's all good now. So I'll be able to put this wheel on and I'll let the bike back on the ground and start putting all the plastics back on and the seat and all that stuff. And then we'll be able to take for a ride. Alright, so just put all the covers and everything on it, as you can see there. So we're going to take it for a ride now. We'll give it a bit of a break in, see how it drives and whatnot. Should be pretty right, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, took the bike, the quad bike for a ride. Got it pretty hot, ran it in pretty well. It still needs a lot more time to run in. The exhaust got pretty hot, so it blew out quite a lot of smoke because of all the chemical and oil and carbon that's still built up in the muffler. So hopefully it'll just keep burning out. At idle and just putting around, it doesn't get hot enough to burn much, so it doesn't really make a lot of smoke. But you can see here as it sits now, there is pretty much no smoke. And like before, you couldn't start it up. You couldn't even start it up and let it just sit here and idle, it just die. But when you've seen the first episode, it was blowing quite a lot of smoke. So it's already a big improvement, a lot more power because the engine can breathe, the head isn't blocked up, the exhaust valve's not blocked. So with one thing, it's been a pretty good success so far. So take it for another ride, and then yeah, we'll park her up. I've checked the oil in the engine, topped it up a little bit because it was just down a little bit because now it's all flowed through it. So we'll take it for another ride and yeah, see how it goes. Rightio, took for another bit of a square there. As you see, going pretty good. Didn't blow a lot of smoke just then. So I'm going to call that a job well done. Obviously, when it goes through the breakthrough, like the break-in Ks, we'll have to change the oil filter again and we'll do a little bit more work on it. But for now, we'll call it done. So, you know the drill. Thanks for watching, everybody. You'll catch us in the next one. All right.